So in the session today, we're going to talk about meditation. And this is to help you understand what meditation actually consists of before we move on to mindfulness in the context that is taught in Buddhism. So Buddhism has been taken out of secular mindfulness, but on all honesty, Buddhism is not a religion as most people think it is. It doesn't require you to have an allegiance to any god, to force you to have a belief in any god. And it's really, the Buddha is really the best psychologist I've ever met. He has taught us a set of a system actually with mindfulness as part of it. The system is called Noble Eightfold Path, for us to understand our mind and realize that the nature of our mind is truly peaceful and filled with love. And because we've forgotten the nature of our minds, our world is in such chaotic situation as it is today. Okay, so let me explain what meditation is. So there are two types of meditation practice in our world. Okay, the first is called samatha, or calm abiding. There are a few words to this. Samatha is, like I said, calm abiding is used in the Tibetan tradition. There is also just calming the mind or stopping the mind, right? So this kind of meditation is practiced everywhere you go, from yoga centers to yoga centers that do asanas, meaning those exercises, to there are many places that comes out with meditation centers these days. They all teach this, right? So what does this actually do, shamatha? So if you are familiar with meditation on breath meditation, meaning every time your mind is distracted, you bring your mind back to the breath, that is learning to calm the mind down. So our minds are not calm because most of the time it is busy being distracted by the many distractions that can be found in the material world, in outside conditions and situations, in opinions, through our six sense doors, right? So from the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the ears, the body, through touch, and of course they all create opinions. Okay, and the mind, the brain, is the sixth sense base in Buddhism. So in order to calm the mind down, we practice non-distraction by bringing the mind to the breath or any other object that you practice, such as body scan, when there is distraction, right? So the next one is called insight meditation, or in Buddhist term is called vipassana. Vipassana is a Pali word. So this one is attributed to the Buddha, right? So the Buddha is not some god or almighty god as the Christians understand it or think it is, or right. The Buddha was a historical person called Siddhartha Gautama. So he didn't dominate the name or the word Buddha. He said all of us are Buddhas, meaning if you have found and realized what you really are, that the true nature of your mind is actually very balanced, blissful, and filled with love and wisdom, and then you are a Buddha. Okay, so nobody has a claim to that title Buddha. All of us are, but we have forgotten it. So let me come back to this point. So did Siddhartha Gautama found his Buddha nature, and so he taught systems of teaching, including shamatha and vipassana. So I'm sure other tradition teach wisdom and insight, but the special thing about this in Buddhism, in Buddhism, it is very systematic, right? So the Buddha taught many people with different kind of psychological makeup, and he gave different ways for them to approach mindfulness and meditation. Right, so when we talk about meditation, it is actually a combination of shamatha and vipassana. So most people think that, oh, right, especially certain religion think that, oh, it's very dangerous to meditate because your mind goes blank and you're allowing all sorts of nonsense to come in your mind. Come on, if you think about it, you don't even need to meditate to allow all sorts of nonsense to go into our minds, right? Look at everybody's mind being addicted, stuck on TikTok, on Instagram, and all sorts of social media. So is there a guardrail to that? No, there isn't. So I find it very strange for people to say that when you meditate, your mind is blank, you allow all sorts of evil. I mean, come on, we are already doing that, aren't we? That's why we are such agitated people these days, right? No, so vipassana is actually insight using what the Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama, right, taught. So he didn't come up with the Noble Eightfold Path or the Four Noble Truths. Rather, he calmed his mind or purified his mind through samatha, and through his own investigation, he discovered this ancient path that is called the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. And these are truths, he said, not to be accepted just because he said that it's there. They are to be investigated. He said, come and see, meaning he's inviting whoever is interested in his sermons to come and see. See what? To look inside yourself, because the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path are found within our experience, day by day, moment by moment. And I understand in Christianity, Jesus also said things like, come and see. So Jesus also taught wisdom, Muhammad also taught wisdom, just that. The only difference is, from my experience and from my reading of various books, the Buddha's wisdom and insight is very extensive, as because the difference being many of his teachings and his words were recorded into 4 books thicker than the Bible. So you can imagine. So when it comes to Jesus, who taught wisdom, unfortunately many of his teachings were lost. So we don't have that extensive teaching left. Okay, so then there's this word samadhi. Okay, so people in meditation circles might have heard of this word. Samadhi was, I think I've read somewhere, I'm not sure whether I'm entirely right. I did my research and found that it could be Siddhartha Gautama that coined this term samadhi. So what is samadhi? Samadhi is a combination of samatha and vipassana, right? So when we practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness, so in secular mindfulness, they never tell you it is actually 4 foundations of mindfulness, right? They break it up to just calm abiding, meaning shamatha in MBSR, and then they have compassion-based mindfulness, which is included in vipassana, and I think not much else out there. So basically, it doesn't encompass the entire 4 foundations of mindfulness, okay, which I will share when we touch on mindfulness. But basically, in short, 4 foundations of mindfulness is to investigate who and what we really are, okay? But anyway, so shamatha is when your mind is calm enough, it has sufficiently stopped, meaning it's no longer as distracted by the many things that are bombarding our brains daily out in the world, okay, from Netflix to social media. Then it is clear and quiet enough to investigate our daily experiences. And that is when you are really taking the Buddha's or even Jesus' invitation to come and see, look within yourself and see what is there. So therefore, as I brought the point about Christianity, the Psalms 4:6-10, be still means what? Shamatha. And know, what is knowing? Vipassana, that I am God. Okay, so what you realize, what you are. Okay, so the word God is very presumptuous. It has so many different cultural meanings, that I don't really want to talk about it. In Buddhism, it's very clear cut, there's no such word as God. Okay, and I think there are some spiritual texts that say I am, right? Just I am. Because when we say who are you, I am, then we usually put our hands to our heart. So the I am feeling is actually in our heart. Okay, and what is this I am? Find out yourself. Yeah. Okay. So some people might say, oh, so blasphemous. How dare you say you're God? You see, that is why there is no such thing as God. There's no such thing as you or I. Go investigate the 4 foundations of mindfulness that thoroughly investigate what we really are. It breaks it down, right? So the first half of the Psalms 4:6-10 is a popular verse used to encourage believers to be still and silent, you see? Because your mind has to be still and it has to be silent, okay, to be able to be present, right? So the present moment is very much taught by the Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama as well. So how to be in the present moment is through mindfulness, and mindfulness is also taught in Christianity. So actually, it may be very offensive to most people, but to me, all religions are leading us inwards to the presence, that there's a presence within us, and we all can know that presence when our minds are still and quiet through samatha and vipassana. So vipassana is a set of wisdom, investigative sort of method. You see, if you're a wise person and you're very observant, you'll be able to do vipassana yourself. Okay, some people don't even need to read any Buddhist text, and they come to the conclusion, life, our experience is a dream. You don't need to read the Buddhist text to know that, oh, life is impermanent, everything is impermanent. What does impermanence mean? Everything is like a dream state. It's not entirely real. So what is real there, right? Okay, that's why we practice. The very first step is mindfulness to find out. So in Burma, the 4 foundations of mindfulness is something that has been commented upon in various books, and there are very many great teachers that teach it systematically, right? So there are also such teachers in Thailand as well that teach mindfulness, in Tibet as well, just that maybe not as systematic. So but it depends. Like I said, there are vast volumes, like 4-5 thick volumes of what the Buddha taught in terms of wisdom, that it depends, right? It depends on the teacher. What does he focus on? What does he or she focus on, right? So in Burma, they focus a lot on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So he said, Sayadaw Tejaniya is a well-known mindfulness teacher. It's not the posture that's meditating, it's the mind, it's your mind. That's how I understand meditation. If while sitting, you're dreaming up things the mind can feel greedy or agitated about, I don't call that meditation. So you can see meditation is not just the mere act of sitting on the cushion and watching your breath. That is not like that. That's not what it is, okay? That's not all meditation is. It doesn't end at you stopping your mind, watching your breath. Yeah. So another well-known teacher, Tibetan meditation teacher, I admire him very much, Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche. Awareness is the essence of meditation. Meditation helps us see that we already are whole, you see, and complete. Yeah, we are not dualistic by nature. Yeah, dualistic means we're always, looking for success, not failure. So behind every success is failure, right? We're looking for love, not hate. We're looking to be loved, not to be hated. So behind every love, there's also that hidden hate. So when we see duality, we see that actually in reality there's none of this. Yeah, there's only equanimity, balance. Okay, right? So that's why he said we're already whole and complete when you can see through duality, which is just a dream state of the mind. It is a practical tool that enables us to get in touch with our true nature. Okay, what's our true nature? Some teachers call it pure consciousness, or pure awareness, or just awareness. What is awareness? Awareness knows. Okay, Awareness is at the same time silent, it is still, and it knows. So that is the combination of samatha and vipassana, which is samadhi. So meditation is being conscious. It's not about just sitting on your cushion and watching your breath. Okay, so being conscious is not being self-conscious. There's a difference. We could say that there are different kinds of self-consciousness. One idea is that self-consciousness has to do with feeling guilty, feeling hurt, feeling pain. But that's not the kind of self-consciousness we are talking about. So awareness is not, oh, I'm conscious of my pain and I want to do something. I want to conscious of my excitement. No, it's not that. Okay, awareness, pure consciousness does not have this different colors. Some teachers like to say different color or different tone to the feeling. Pure consciousness, pure awareness is just aware of the different tonality of feeling, but it doesn't grasp onto that feeling. Okay, when you grasp onto that feeling, it means that you're self-conscious. When you're self-conscious means what? You're embarrassed, you're afraid to let people know that you're feeling hurt, for example. Okay, so another teacher, Dr. David R. Hawkins, in Letting Go, he said, people are desperate to stay unconscious. Yeah, what he means that, when you got nothing to do, then you feel very agitated. You want to keep doing something. And when you are doing something, and you're caught up in all these feelings and doing, then you become self-conscious. And self-consciousness is being unconscious. So we observe how often people flick on the TV set the minute they enter a room, and then walk around in a dreamlike state, constantly being programmed by the data poured into them. People are terrified of facing themselves. They dread even a moment of aloneness. Thus, the constant frantic activities, endless socializing, talking, texting, reading, music playing, working, traveling, sightseeing, shopping, overeating, gambling, movie going, pill taking, drug using, and cocktail partying. See, do you see this in yourself? I believe you can see, if you stop, to see that there's this urge to always do something, and this urge to do something is actually agitation. So when we meditate or when we go into mindfulness, to truly understand what mindfulness is, we need to set the right intention. So many people have the intention to end their stress. That is how most of us step into mindfulness. Now, that's not wrong, but if we want to go deep and we don't move away from this intent, then that mindfulness will not serve us. Okay, we will get even more stressed because I'll be like, how come mindfulness is not making me peaceful? Or if it has made me peaceful for a while, how come I've lost the mindfulness? Oh, then the stress comes back, right? Because why? We don't have right intention. Okay, so as Chongyam Trungpa Rinpoche is a Tibetan teacher, he said this: the ego furiously opposes pure awareness, and its key strategy against meditation's assault is spiritual materialism. Okay, meaning, so what he's saying is that because we're not used to having nothing to do, we have not really recognized that pure awareness within us, then this wanting to do something becomes spiritual materialism. We will study very hard to refute other people, say they're wrong. You see, ill will comes up, right? Because there's self-consciousness, there's the right or wrong duality. Then we start to fight other people with spiritual materialism. We say, oh yeah, their religion is no good. They pray to, they idolize. Or this tradition is better than that tradition. All right, that school is better than the school. You see, then we take a lot of pray a lot incense and keep a lot of all these sacred objects. Right, it's spiritual materialism. So we would like to live longer, be healthier, stronger, more highly competent, more monastic, more powerful, more highly admired, richer, and more invulnerable. What better vehicle towards these ends than profoundest ancient wisdom and techniques of mind training, honed by centuries of application? If meditation can be tied to ambition, the heart of its power of liberation is gone. So you see, If we meditate in order to gain something, like we usually do in our marketplace mentality, like we work hard to get more money, we please the boss so we can be promoted, then stress is never gone if we approach mindfulness or meditation with such intention. So you might ask, then what intention do we have? The best intention to have when we meditate and practice mindfulness is that may we in our practice be free from stress and suffering, and may everyone in the world as well be free from stress and suffering. So this is a very altruistic intention, okay, that is not selfish, that will be more successful, will help you to be more successful in your practice, okay, because this is open-hearted altruism. So you see, meditation is not a selfish act. Yeah, mindfulness is not a selfish act. Okay, so that's all for today's session, and next we'll talk about right mindfulness.